In the last part of the 4.2a lesson, we're going to look at tables. And from these tables, we're going to state the slope y-intercept and write the equation in y equals mx plus b form. So I'm actually going to start with the y-intercept for these because it's usually the easiest thing to spot. Y-intercepts have always been written like this, 0, a number. So the first thing I need to do is just look through my table and find if there is an ordered pair that looks like that. So that means my y-intercept is 4. And that's it, I'm done with that. Next thing I'm going to do is I need to find my m, which means I'm going to pick 2 points from my table and I'm going to plug this into my slope formula. So that comes out to be 2. 2 over 1 or 2. And that means my equation then is y equals 2x plus 4. And that's what we're doing for these remaining problems. By the way, there is another strategy because as you could probably tell, the part of this that requires the most amount of work is the slope. And I'll show you another strategy in just a second after we do maybe one more like this. Okay. So we're going to look for our b value, maybe even circle it or highlight it so it's -2. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to find our m. We're going to pick 2 points from our table, any 2. And we're going to plug it into our formula. And carefully simplify down to -1. And our equation is then y equals -1x plus -2. All right, so what's another strategy? Well, this is maybe the best, most familiar strategy because there is another way to do this, but it does, if applied incorrectly, could be confusing. And it's going to be related to m. So the first thing, though, I'm going to still do is find my y-intercept, which is this. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of write myself a note here that m is rise over run. All right, and I'm going to start with my rise. And when we did block patterns, we did these hoops. And so our y here is the rise. I notice that my y values go up by 1, up by 1, up by 1. So that's my rise actually for my staircase or my rate of change. And now I'm going to do my run. But you got to start with doing the y column and writing it down. Otherwise, you end up getting these answers usually backwards. So this one goes up by 2. This one goes up by 2. And this one goes up by 2. And that goes down here. And when we had done this with block patterns back in Module 3, I had shown the plus because sometimes these might go down. And I had also talked about how these weren't always going to go up by 1. So we start to see that something different's happening here. So this is 1/2, and my equation is y equals 1/2 x plus 0. I'm going to show it again. Remember, your backup plan is just do it the longer old school way of slope formula. So my y-intercept is when x is 0. And then over to the side, I'm going to do rise over run. I'm going to set up my fraction because rise over run is the same as my slope formula. It's just another way to think about it. And I'm going to start with this. So it goes from 4 to 2, 2 to 0, 0 to -2. It's going down by 2, down by 2, down by 2. minus 2 every time. So I have to be careful. I now need to include, is it plus or is it minus? If you don't like this option, then you do this option, the formula. Okay, they produce the same results. This one is up by 3, up by 3, and up by 3. And they should all, the orange ones and the green ones for this problem should always be the same. If they aren't, we're having trouble and it's easier to look at another one. You can also do that. So our slope is negative 2/3. And our equation is y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. Last two. Let's try it again. Y-intercept is 0, negative 3. All right, this one is, that one looks a little weird, so maybe I start down here. From negative 3 to 2, I go up by 5. From negative 8 to 3 to negative 3, I go up by 5. And negative 13 plus 5 is negative 8. So those are all plus 5. And these ones are all, this one's easy. So these other ones probably need to be also plus 1. All right, so this is 5/1 or 5. And my equation is y equals 5x plus negative 3. All right, last one. You're going to pick which technique you prefer. Pause the video, either try the slope formula or try this hoop method, finding rate of change. All right, and so we ended up getting an equation that was y equals negative 3/4 x plus 1. And when you go to the homework or when you're doing these, pick the technique that you prefer. Try a little bit of both, but I'd say your backup best plan is actually to do it the way that we had been practicing it if this way is causing some issue.